Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The Guru scene. Everyone knows this family classic. I really shouldn't have to describe such an iconic piece to you. This lost scene from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was filmed, but in the end left on the cutting room floor. The scene is about a hiker who lost his group on a mountain and then sees a guru. He asks the guru, what is the meaning of life? Instead of answering the question, the guru asks, do you have a Wonka bar? The hiker says he does, and that it's the last of his food. He gives it to the guru anyway. When the guru looks inside and sees no golden ticket, he throws the bar across the cave. The hiker asks again, what is the meaning of life? And the guru answers, life is a disappointment. This scene was most likely involved in the montage of people trying to find golden tickets and failing. The complete original scripted version of the scene still exists. However, the scene itself is lost. It has never been seen by the public in theatres or on home video, and it is unknown if it still exists.
Hey everyone, heads up, the script reading video, whatever the hell it was, has since been privated. Lost Media Wiki, please keep up to date or else people will be very disappointed by this misleading little paragraph you've put in. It's also not and, for shame, Wiki. Tell you what, I'll fix it for you. Done.
I consider this to be one of my favourite movies of all time, so to see this one little piece, even if it's all that wasn't included, would just be awesome. Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, deleted scenes. Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, is a very strange one. I loved this movie as a kid, but looking back, it isn't great. It's cheesy, there isn't really a lot of Power Rangers action until the very end, its characters aren't that great. A lot of people have gone on record saying the best thing about it is how weirdly hot Divatox is. For some reason, the wonderful choppiness of the show just doesn't translate well to film. This film, however, may not have been so bad at one point. There are a lot more interesting scenes that would have added to the story and maybe even spiced up the action a bit. The original cut was over an astonishing 3 hours, as opposed to the final hour and 40-minute runtime. As of 2021, none of these full scenes have been released online or on home media. This means over an hour of the film's intended presentation isn't publicly available. These scenes include a crocodile fight with a flamethrower for Tommy and Kat, a bungee jump stunt for Adam, more character development for Justin, the team using their Zeo powers to fight Divatox, only for their Zords and Morphers to be badly damaged to the point of near uselessness. This will be followed by technical advisor Billy, the former Blue Ranger, to convert them into turbo powers. But David Yost left the show during filming for Zeo, which was going alongside Turbo, so it's highly possible these scenes weren't even finished. Before their Zeo powers were completely useless, Adam and Tanya were going to use them to try and rescue Jason and Kimberly, only to fail and have their powers destroyed completely. A character named Mandika the Mermaid, played by an unknown actress, had all of her vital scenes cut from the film, including rescuing Kimberly from drowning. There was a longer trek through the volcano, and finally there was a romantic subplot for Jason and Kimberly. Interestingly, most of these scenes were used in the comic adaptation. All that currently exists for the actual scenes are still photographs. No photographs or clips of Mandika, Justin's additional scenes, the Zeo fight scenes, and the bungee jump stunt are known to exist, and it's unknown if any of the scenes will ever be released given the film's negative reception and box office disappointment. It's possible a crew member could release additional photographs or footage like they have before with the Zoo 2 fight scenes, but as of yet, that remains to be seen. Like I said before, Turbo isn't a great movie. It's not a good movie. It's kind of a bad movie. I suppose my main curiosity comes from how genuinely more interesting this original, slightly bloated cut sounds. I want to see the mermaid, the volcano trek, the crocodile fight, the Zeo fight scenes. We only get a glimpse of the Zeo powers in this movie, and Zeo is probably my favourite season of the show. They just sound really cool, and as a Power Rangers fan, I'd like to see them, no matter how good or bad they are. Hashtag release the turbo cut. The Shining. Deleted scenes. Stanley Kubrick's 1980 adaptation of Stephen King's The Shining is considered by many, including myself, to be one of the best horror films of all time. Only idiots and amateurs think it's boring or not scary. In the movie, struggling writer Jack Torrance moves into the Overlook Hotel with his wife and son, caretaking it for the winter. A combination of cabin fever and ghostly visions slowly erode Jack's sanity until he turns on his own family. Initially, the film was released with 2 more minutes of an epilogue to the events. In the scene, Danny and Wendy are in the hospital, recovering from Jack's assault. Stuart Ullman, the Overlook's manager, arrives to check on them. He shows remorse towards the trauma they suffered and offers them a place at his Los Angeles home. He maintains that, despite a detailed search, nothing unusual was found at the hotel. The scene ends with Stuart throwing a yellow tennis ball to Danny, alluding to an earlier scene in the film. This scene was meant to show Wendy and Danny survived the ordeal, but also adds mystery to the manager and his motives. The movie still ended with Jack Torrance in an old photo in the Overlook Hotel. Unfortunately, due to Kubrick's professionalism, and despite positive feedback from the test audiences in New York and Los Angeles, he decided against the epilogue and had it cut from all known copies of the film and presumably destroyed. It's unknown if the scene still exists, as 17 minutes worth of cut material from 2001: A Space Odyssey was found in a Kansas salt mine in 2017, but has yet to be released to the public. All that survives of this scene is the original script, some Polaroid photographs taken on set, and the crediting of the nurse and policeman also survive to preserve its existence. I'm willing to accept the cuts from 2001 may not be all that vital, or fit with Kubrick's vision, but this scene just seems like something that would be fun to see in some kind of extended editor's cut, or something like that, as well as giving Barry Nelson some more screen time. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Chances are if it did survive, it'd be badly damaged or something like that, especially since Kubrick himself didn't even want it in the film. The epilogue wasn't the only cut bit from the film, however, and these next pieces might actually have a higher chance of survival than the epilogue does. At about the 39-minute mark, after bouncing the tennis ball around the lobby and checking out the hedge maze model, Jack discovers a trail made from his writing materials. He slowly follows it into the Colorado Lounge, where he mysteriously finds a scrapbook sitting on his desk. After flipping through many of its pages, he discovers it contains the bloody history of the Overlook Hotel, which he begins to use as inspiration for his writing project. The seeds of Jack's infatuation with the Overlook were planned to begin with this scene, which was inspired by the plot thread in Stephen King's original novel. Diane Johnson, the co-writer, actually fought to include the scene in the final cut, but Kubrick ultimately said no, and it was removed. Remnants of the scrapbook's significance in the story can be found in the film, from the visibility of Jack's writing desk in several scenes and a line of dialogue from Jack when talking about the spirit of Delbert Grady. The prop scrapbook can also be viewed at the Stanley Kubrick Archives in London. Another scene of Wendy carrying an injured Danny down the halls of the Overlook, following her argument with Jack at the 62-minute mark, was also filmed. This scene was first discovered in an auction of a work print reel belonging to Kubrick's assistant, Emilio Di Alessandro. It is unknown who won the auction, leaving the question and speculation whether or not the public eye will ever see this footage. This means that not all cut material was necessarily destroyed, and it's highly possible that this very same print could have contained some of the other missing scenes, or better yet, some other prints out there exist with these missing scenes. So there's still hope, even if we can't see them. At the 84-minute mark of the film, Jack eyes the bar table mirror in front of him to see the Golden Room guests become corpses. Many of them were drenched in blood, with knives lodged into their backs and chests, while others were bare skeletons. Kubrick insisted that the skeletons used on set were authentic, and they were still able to be in the film at the 133-minute mark when Wendy witnesses them in the lobby, which is a really creepy scene, and makes me disappointed that this one was also cut. Halloran's death in the climax was originally far more gruesome. Jack would hit Halloran in the head before swinging the axe into his spine. As Halloran fell onto his back, Jack continued to dismember him until he hears Danny running away. According to Diane Johnson, his death was changed as Kubrick didn't want it to be too gory, because more blood was more vulgar. Halloran's corpse can be found laying on his back when found by Wendy at the 132-minute mark of the film. Since this scene was actually reshot entirely, it's less likely to exist than the other ones. Many more scenes regarding Wendy's visions in the climax were filmed, one of which involved Wendy witnessing the ghost of Mrs. Grady, all drenched in blood, standing behind her through a mirror. As Wendy screamed in shock, the glass of the mirror shattered. According to Shelley Duvall, it was actually a very scary scene, but Kubrick thought that audiences wouldn't have understood who Mrs. Grady was. The prop head that may have been used for Mrs. Grady can be seen in The Making of The Shining. Again, the discovery of this auctioned print, which now belongs to some random collector who will probably never release it, does seem to prove that most of these scenes, at least, were not completely discarded, and could very well still exist somewhere. I don't know why Emilio didn't simply release the print or sell it off to someone who would actually want to release it, but hey, an auction's an auction. Fraidy Cat. Fraidy Cat is yet another example of Disney's clueless, money-making mindset that overshadows original ideas and true creativity. Fraidy Cat is an unusual film in that it was a satire on Alfred Hitchcock noir classics. It was about two pampered, spoilt house pets, Oscar the cat and Karina the cockatoo. When Oscar is the prime suspect for the kidnapping of another pet in the neighborhood, The two set out to clear Oscar's name. Although reels privately shown in 2005 impressed animators and everyone else working on the film, David Stainton wouldn't agree to release it. His main concern was that the prime money-making audiences, namely children, wouldn't understand the Hitchcock homaging nature of the film, and it effectively wouldn't turn a profit. The film was then shelved, and has stayed that way since. None of the reels created for Fraidy Cat have surfaced online. The film is considered completely lost as a result. All that exists to preserve the film's physical existence are pieces of concept art. Given how detailed and well done the artwork is, one can only assume the film was being worked on quite intensely, and many people believed what they were making was worth it. I'd at least like to watch the reels they made and get a taste of what it was like. Also, I love Hitchcock movies, so seeing a good satirical take on it would be fun, especially in a well-written kids movie about a cat and a cockatoo. Weird-ohs, the Unaired pilot. Weird-ohs is one of my personal favourite pieces of lost media. It wasn't a very good show, but what fascinates me is the attention it managed to grab because of its rarity. I still remember a time when most of the episodes were still missing and I would watch the found ones on repeat, reading descriptions for the lost ones, or watching clips from them, wondering what the full episodes were like. For those of you unfamiliar, it's a weird slapstick CGI show based on the 1960s Weird-ohs toys that satirized American car culture. In 2003, the entire series except the unaired pilot was released on 3 separate VHS cassettes called Lights Camera Traction, Wheel Trouble, and Traffic Jam. In 2005, the entire series was released by YTV onto DVD. These home media releases, if they even still exist in anyone's possession, are extremely rare to come by, especially since the DVD only had 500 copies manufactured and sent into the market, and only in Canada. Since no one who got their hands on the DVD has revealed it online, it's unknown what the menu looks like, and, more interestingly, if the unaired pilot is included on the release, as it is currently the only episode to not have surfaced. The only remaining fragment of the unaired pilot that is publicly available is titled Weird-ohs Tank Sequence, which was uploaded onto YouTube well over a decade ago by Russimation, someone who worked on the show. Given that this clip surfaced way before most of the show's episodes were found, one would assume it would have turned up by now, but Russ hasn't been active in years. Since most of the found episodes most likely originated from the VHS releases giving them mostly low quality, this doesn't seem to help confirm whether the pilot is on the DVD or not. The VHS quality of the clip could mean it was taken from a beta tape of some kind, but like I said, no one has heard anything from Russ in a long time. Someone left a comment on his discussion page some months ago, but they don't seem to have gotten a response. It seems as though the unaired pilot does still exist, but just can't be seen. If anyone has the DVD and it has the pilot on it, you wouldn't mind uploading it to VLC and sharing it, would you? Suicide Squad, the Ayer cut. Suicide Squad was a 2016 garbage superhero movie based on the DC supervillain team of the same name. It was directed by David Ayer and is the 3rd film in the DC Extended Universe. Instead of being aimed at edgy teenagers, it's now aimed at hot topic teenagers. The original runtime of the film was, for some reason, 2 hours and 45 minutes, but was thankfully cut down to a still unbearable 2 hours and 10 minutes, resulting in a good chunk of scenes being cut from the film. The original version has not been released on DVD or online. These cutscenes include June Moon being possessed by Enchantress in a tomb, Deadshot in his prison cell thinking of his daughter while looking at the rain, El Diablo observing the flame on a lit match before blowing it out as he vows to never use his powers, El Diablo being escorted to a training center and being placed in a tube that fills up with water to put out his flames, scenes of Captain Boomerang being sexist and racist, Killer Croc's backstory, Killer Croc becomes sick at the helicopter escort to Midway City, throws up half a goat and proceeds to eat it again, references to Slipknot being a serial rapist, extra scenes of Rick Flag and June Moon's relationship, extended version of the Joker interrogating Captain Griggs, Joker and his men escaping after shooting up a restaurant, Harley following them on a motorcycle and intercepting their car and Joker banging his head on the glass in frustration, Joker and Harley getting into a fight which ends with Harley pointing a gun at Joker's head, Joker talks Harley into lowering the gun, charms her and backhands her across the face before sweet-talking her and kissing her, extra Joker dialogue when Harley jumps into the chemicals, extended dialogue during the Batmobile chase scene, Harley using her baseball bat as a gun, extended version of the Joker breaking into the nanobomb facility to disable Harley's neck bomb, interactions between Harley and and Boomerang, extended bar scene where Harley is taking everyone's order, scenes showing Joker's relationship with Harley was more loving than abusive, Joker and Harley getting into an argument on a helicopter after he saves her, and last but not least, the Joker appearing in the final battle in the subway station, face half burnt from the crash, which leads to a brief altercation with the squad. He tells Harley to escape and she refuses. For some reason. Joker throws a grenade at the squad to cover his escape. The extended version of the film, which was released on DVD on December 13th, 2016, only contained 13 minutes of the cut footage. After the success of the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut movement, fans started a new campaign called hashtag Release the Ayer Cut. Director David Ayer supported this campaign, and in June 2020 revealed that the success of the comedic Deadpool and the negative reception of the serious Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, both films also released in 2016, were the reason why a good number of scenes were cut from the final film, while also confirming the existence of a longer version of Suicide Squad and asking fans on Twitter to ask AT&T and HBO Max to release it. I really hate this movie. As a matter of fact, it's one of my least favourite movies of all time, but I think the release of this Ayer cut could be something of a silver lining. Don't get me wrong, it sounds just as bloated and just as chaotically terrible, but it does definitely sound more interesting than what we ended up with. And I like to see what the director wanted, not what the studio wanted.
Black the Ripper. Black the Ripper is an alleged blaxploitation horror film that may have been released around years 1974 through 1976. The movie was a blaxploitation take on the Jack the Ripper story. It is thought that Frank Soletri, the writer of the blaxploitation movie Blackenstein, was the director of Black the Ripper. Black the Ripper is shrouded in mystery, as a production note of it was first mentioned in the May 8, 1974 issue of Variety magazine, where it was said to be 2 months into production. Black the Ripper was mentioned again in the February 25, 1976 issue of Variety, where it had a planned release of Memorial Day. The movie's existence would not be mentioned again for over 30 years, in 2013, when a user of a website for obscure films claimed to have seen it once while browsing torrent files. Another user of the same website supposedly released the only known screenshots of the film. Due to the relatively obscure nature of the film, it cannot be confirmed if the film finished production or even saw a theatrical release. To give you a bit more of a background, from the early to mid-1970s, a myriad of movies starring black actors by black crew were released in order to appeal to the African-American urban audiences. These films would be nicknamed blaxploitation, as they would often show the lead character moulding their own destiny and not following stereotypes as commonly portrayed in older Hollywood movies. Many blaxploitation films were often independently produced and as a result often lacked qualities that would have given them the marketability that other films of the era had. They're basically old cult movies. Black the Ripper, however, is relatively unknown. While the production note from Variety magazine did list Frank Soletri as the director and a few unknown actors, not much else can be said about it. Those who have seen the movie have gone on to note that scenes were often missing, the film was hastily put together, and was overall very incomplete and varying in quality. There is an opening credit with a song credited to Mara Farmer, but no ending credits. Users also mentioned how in the opening credits, alongside Frank Soletri as director, Michael Finn is credited as having written the script. While not confirmed, it is possible that this is the same Michael Flynn who directed the 1974 film The Black Connection. Just a little heads up, Lost Media Wiki, whoever wrote this fucking article is terrible. It's Michael Finn, not Michael Flynn. Please fix that. It will tamper people's research into this movie. How's about this? I'll fix it for you. Boom. This theory is made all the more possible as The Black Connection was filmed in Las Vegas, where Frank Soletri was known to have lived. I won't go too into detail about the plot because it's kind of ridiculous, but it's basically about a guy called Mike, who's a karate teacher and gets involved in a string of murders he believes to be a guy called Sideback. But then when the both of them are taken to jail, there's another murder, so Sideback is clear as a suspect, and it turns out that it was a mild-mannered Caucasian accountant named Todd. And apparently Mike, he's in a relationship with a woman called Clara? Yeah, remember when I said a lot of the film was apparently missing or incomplete? That's what I meant. The cast include Hugh Van Putten, who possibly played Mike, Bol Nicoli, Renata Harmon, Marva Farmer, who also recorded the theme song, and Dale Beck, or Betch. It's also possible but not confirmed that Antonio Fargas could have been the character Sideback. In terms of availability, Black the Ripper has yet to be confirmed as actually existing. While a few people have claimed to have seen it on torrent files,
and the website dailygrindhouse.com has an article that goes into great detail about the film, the entire film is yet to be confirmed or actually made publicly available. If Black the Ripper does indeed exist, it is possible that it was only released locally, similar to many blaxploitation films of the time. Another possibility is that the film was scrapped during the editing phase, but was later re-edited for a local release, which would explain why the film at times lacks consistency. Note that scenes are known to be missing from the film. None of the actors who starred in the film have come forward to identify the existence of the film. As of me reading this, there has been no confirmation beyond the film having screenshots and the production notes from Variety. I personally am going to say that all fingers point to this film indeed existing in some capacity. I don't know why these people who have got the torrent files don't just publicly release them, maybe there's a risk of viruses or something, but I'm a firm believer of this film's existence, even if it can't really be seen properly. I'm gonna stick to this one and see what comes of Black the Ripper, if anything at all.